morning. There's a house we used to live in, had this lovely jacaranda tree in the front yard. Now for most of the year it was just leaves and branches and shade, but around mid-spring it would burst to life with brilliant mauve flowers, great clusters of them. It would just be beautiful, rich in this purple mauve colour. No sooner had the jacaranda begun to blossom than we would start getting thunderstorms. The thunderstorms of late mid-spring and early summer. And these beautiful mauve flowers would be washed to the ground, blown in the wind, washed with the rain onto the grass. And the next morning there'd be this beautiful velvet carpet, if you like, across the lawn and the driveway. Beautiful. But after a bit more rain and sun, it would turn brown and mushy. And driving up that driveway, which had a slight rise, was almost impossible. We came to understand that when the jacaranda flowered, summer was near. Christmas was on its way, but so were the thunderstorms. I remember one thunderstorm in a different house. We got the warnings on the radio, thunderstorms coming in over the mountains in the hourly news. We looked at the radar on our phones, and the radar, the rain band was filled with bright colours, the yellows turning to oranges and reds and then black. This was an intense storm. The signs were there, not just on the radio warning or the radar, but our dogs. Our dogs, when the storm was still seemed far off, began to shake. Our little one shook, not too violently at first, but there was anxiety. The bigger one walked around not knowing what was going on. And as the storm got closer, the little one shook more and the big one was more frantic. And we waited for the storm. But our waiting wasn't passive, just apathetic waiting, if you like. We went outside and brought the washing in and put things under cover that we didn't want to get wet. Fragile pot plants that were out in the open we brought in and put other more hardy ones out to get a good drenching. We prepared for the storm, and then it came. And the dogs shook. The rain came first in big blobs and then torrential rain. The thunder racked the whole house and shook the windows. The sky was lit up with lightning, and there was a little bit of hail. When we looked on the news later, we got it mildly. We were just really the edge of the storm. It had divided and gone north and south, as it often does with us. And across the city there were flash floods and trees down and branches down and roofs leaking and call-outs by the dozen for the SES. The signs were there, and some people prepared and others didn't. The signs are always there in life. Signs of summer, signs of bushfire, signs of wars and the rumours of wars, signs of ill health. The signs are written in our bodies and in the world around. And this week we begin this journey into Advent. These 4 weeks that lead us into Christmas. And they begin with a big picture of the world, the cosmic images of sky turning dark and the sun going bright red, as it did in the bushfires that threatened so much life and property and bushland and animals. The signs were there in the sky, and the skies turned dark. The middle of the day was dark, and driving through it with headlights on was the only way to find your way. It was scary, it was frightening. As are the floods, as are the wars that inflict other nations. People huddling in apartments, anticipating the missiles and bombs that are coming, or the tanks that are riding into their town or city. These things are in the world around us. The critical moments, the moments of crisis, that bring fear to the lives of people, that cause us to be breathless. And in this story this week from Luke's story of Jesus, he talks about the breathlessness harking back to that story in Genesis 2, where God created humans and breathed life, breathed the spirit of life into beings, and animated them and gave them life and being. And Luke says that the life will be taken out of us through fear and through distraction and through the crises that we face. And many will lose life as they do. He speaks in the words of Jesus of this impending crisis that comes to each person. Whether it's in the world out there, written in the cosmic skies and heavens, or whether it's written in our own bodies, written in the pains that grow and grow into something sinister. That which appears on the X-ray scans or other scans, or appears in the tests, the results we didn't expect. It's the crisis in relationships, where the good relationship turns sour, and there's enmity and conflict, and there's pain and there's grief. The critical moments of life. These moments come to all of us. These moments cause us to be breathless, to look for distraction, to look for ways out, ways to endure. In the words that Luke tells, the words that echo Jesus, or are Jesus' words reinterpreted into his world, he tells us to watch for the signs. Not just for the signs of the critical moment of doom and gloom and suffering, but the critical moment that also contains this presence of God. For it's in the critical moment that we can be held, that we can experience the inbreaking, the eruption into our lives of this reign of God, when we least expect it. Sometimes in the simplest, most insignificant and yet significant and profound way. When people faced that bushfire, they were told at a point to get out. They left with any possessions they could hold, having done what they could to get the house in the best place to resist any fire, and they made for an evacuation shelter. And there they huddle. They huddle with other people, living through the same fear and critical moment, the same anxiety and worry, and whose lives are equally turned upside down. And there, as they share their pain and as they share their stories, as they hold each other, and as the chaplains wander around and offer the only thing they can, a prayer, there's the inbreaking of something, of this community that holds one another, this experience of love and grace and relationship in the most tense and difficult and struggling, challenging time. There is relationship. Friends and strangers come together. And there's life in this moment. Life beyond the world we know, where we're told to accumulate as much as we can. That life is about having, about gaining, about acquiring assets and wealth and money and power and fame and status and education and experiences and everything else we can. That's the only way to find meaning and happiness in life, because that's what life is about. But then when we reach the critical moment, these things can't save us. There is grief and pain to bear, but these things can't save us. And suddenly we're tempted to look beyond ourselves for that spark of transcendence, that spark of otherness, that's something that will bring light into our darkness. A light we can't imagine, but we can only hope for and reach for and pray for. And that light, that spark, is this encounter with a living God, who is outside and beyond the experience, but breaks into the world in powerful ways, in simple ways, in ways that transform our imagination, that question the life and the culture in which we have been grounded, and in which we believe. It's a way that invites us to think differently about the world and about life, to love the world in all its weakness and vulnerability, and to wait with hope for God's inbreaking. And that's what Jesus' words to us this week are about. The world is a world of joy and pain, of fun and suffering. It's a world of wonder and awe and a world of crisis. And the moment of crisis will come to all of us, as will the moments of wonder and joy. And Jesus says, be aware, be open, read the signs, and look into the moments of inbreaking for this presence, this reign of God, this God who comes, this God who is present in everything and everywhere, this otherness of God which can't be fully known or controlled or defined, only experienced when we're found by such grace and such love. And this is what we wait for in Christmas. This story of the inbreaking of God into the world in this baby, in a story that's backwards and upside down and twists our culture and our world upside down and inside out. A baby born to people of no significance brings the truth of God. In the least expected places, we find God materializing. In the midst of brokenness, in the midst of pain, in the midst of hopelessness, in the midst of despair, God is with us. And God reveals God's self in this space to bring hope and life, to bring joy, even in the midst of crisis. God is with us.